Hello, everyone. This is Andres Restart. I do have a guest coming in at some point, so they'll be here probably any minute. And tonight we're just gonna chat. We're gonna talk about Nintendo. We're gonna talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct that will happen on April 2nd. We'll talk about the rumor for a Direct this February, along with a Pokemon Presents that's expected this February as well, and just a general going on to Nintendo. And now my thoughts on the Switch 2 reveal about a week removed from. Oh yeah, I mean it's been about a week since then. It was January 16th, a Thursday. Today is January 23rd, a Thursday. So 7 days later, that would be a week. So, yep, that's the plan. I'm a little distracted because I thought I should put something in the description, and I had not until, well, just now. But there isn't really much there. So I wanted to put our guest channel in the description. Give me 1 second here. Come on, brain. We are talking about Nintendo tonight. That's the description. What else is new? All right. My attention is now focusing. It's honing in. We're getting there. Oh, Sam's here in the background. Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I haven't been on here in a while. I should have made an attempt to come on sooner, but I'm here now.
All good. All good. I just put Sam's channel in the description below for those who want to check him out. He talks about games when he can. So definitely check him out. But yeah, tonight we're just going to be hanging out, with everyone in the chat, doing some Q&A and talking about what's been going on. So, let me pull up the chat here. If you guys could let me know how everything is looking and sounding, I would appreciate that. Sam, you sounded a little quiet to me, by the way. Maybe that's just me, but if you have a way to raise your volume a little bit, I think that would help. Just a little, not like a lot, but
Let's see.
that's louder already.
Yeah, I might have just been far away.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
cool.
Actually, let me test this.
Hello, having hope. Hello there, Boo Mini.
All right, how is it right now?
Pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Good luck walking your dog, Velociraptor Ghost. Shadow K25, you are here just in time. Welcome. Hello, Cold Brew. Ruby needs her own webcam. That is a good idea, actually. I will consider that for the future. Like perhaps in a new set, I will position a corner of the room and make it extremely comfortable, so she'll have no choice but to sleep there all the time. And then I'll position a camera there. The thing is that with Ruby, she changes her mind on where she wants to sleep, like after every few weeks. So, I would have to make it really comfortable to the point where she'd be like, no, there's no way I'm not sleeping here, right? So at least then I could like predict, or I just put a face cam in like the 4 or 5 different locations she likes to sleep most of the time, and be like, oh, Ruby cam, what's she doing? There she is. But I believe something could be done there. Anyways, checking with the chat here. Boo Mini, Having Hope, Alma, Benjamin, Connor. Everyone's saying everything looks and sounds good. I appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you for letting me know. Let's let's dive into the conversation here. So Sam, what did you make of that Switch 2 reveal last week?
So, if we're being completely honest here, it was really nice.
100%.
It was nice to see it revealed, right? It was great. Like, great to see the console, and the console looks great. I don't agree with the naysayers on, Twitter about it, right? But I do wish we saw, at least to the extent of what we saw for Switch, like we see a few games in the trailer aside from just Mario Kart. It's fine. At least we got a direct date, right? At least we're not speculating about that. But it was good overall. It could have been even better, but
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on the same page. The Switch One first look had 6 games, right? It had Breath of the Wild, which was the big hype Zelda game that everyone was excited for at the time, right? We were all eagerly anticipating that game. It was Super Mario Odyssey, which people debate its existence. It was Skyrim, which everyone was shocked by. NBA 2K, which is just good to see. A new Splatoon game, Splatoon 2 at the time. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It looked just like Mario Kart 8, but there were some signs in there that it was clearly different, like with the double items. And so there were 6 games there that inspired a lot of conversation and intrigue. And this time Nintendo just showed the one. Now, the one is a pretty big one. It's a brand new Mario Kart. And I feel like we could really sink our teeth into just that, right? But I do agree with you. I wish they showed more games. I would have been nice. And I'm not saying like it had to be, a crazy, like, 20-minute direct. I just would have wanted to see a few more seconds. Like it was only a 2-minute. Interestingly, it was a 2-minute and 22-second trailer. 222, which is kind of neat given that it's Switch 2. So I kind of maybe that was intentional, but that's shorter by over a minute for the Switch 1 reveal. They could have showed us more. And so I guess the bigger question to maybe ask, and actually this might be a good poll to put up for the chat. Did Nintendo hurt their chances to succeed with this trailer that had less games? I think the answer is ultimately no. Like, yes, it's the trailer is not as good as a Switch 1 first look trailer, but as long as the games are still coming and they show them off in the April Direct, it doesn't actually matter. And I think they have really good momentum regardless. But I'm curious how chat feels. What do you think, Sam?
yeah, just look at the views on the trailer alone. Everybody knows about this thing at this point. And also when that Switch 2 Direct comes around, and like arguably this may be even better than the Switch presentation because we know even less about the console going into the Direct and the games it's going to have. So it's going to be all new announcements. It's going to be crazy. And everybody's going to be like, yeah, we're back. Right now, there's a little bit of pessimism, but I think that's all going to blow over once we see the games and once we see third-party games as well.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I have the question right here. Did Nintendo hurt their chances of success by showing less games in the Switch 2 first look trailer? Interestingly, I am only allowed 100 characters for the question, and without realizing it, I typed exactly 100. So I'll take that as a sign.
Yeah, I think the answer is no, ultimately. Yeah. Like, if so, it's like minimal.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we're at is, I mean, to your point, there's a lot of momentum with the trailers. So you're getting a lot of views. I really wish they never took down the Switch 1 first look trailer so I could see how many views that trailer had. I know it was high. Like,
it was the number one. It was above the Mario Odyssey trailer, but I don't remember the exact numbers.
Yeah, and that's what I'm very curious on, like the exact numbers. Like going to Nintendo of America now, seeing their most popular videos. I want to see, I'm sure the trailer's over 20 million views now, but I'm curious like if it's how much up higher is it at this point. Okay, so it's actually publicly it's only showing 19 million views. Which is a lot, That's a lot. But it's kind of hard to gauge like how many more views is this trailer going to get overall. That I'm unsure of. Like, there's a Mario Rabbids trailer that has more views than the Switch 2 reveal trailer. Granted, this came out in that year of 2017, right? There's a Yoshi trailer that has more views. So I
There's
think
a Pikmin one, right? Like a Pikmin
I'm
short.
I'm looking at the Pikmin one. Yeah, I mean, let me just screen share so you guys know what I'm looking at here. So I'm just looking at the most popular videos on Nintendo of America's YouTube channel, which I believe is their most popular YouTube channel. Um, and so this is where Switch 2 currently ranks. It's only been out for 7 days, so that should absolutely be taken into account. But I think we should also realize that the most of the views come in at the beginning. So it really has me wondering, like, how much more people are going to watch this trailer. Like, I'm just trying to gauge, like, just how popular was that first look. And Sam, I do believe you're right that first look for Switch 1 was higher than the Mario Odyssey trailer, but they took it down. So I don't know. I don't know where it's at anymore.
Yeah, I would assume that that trailer was at roughly 60 million. I don't think it was higher by much, but it was higher.
Right. And so let's say you're about right. It was at 60 million. The Switch 2 first look is at a third of that. I'm assuming there's more than 19 million views privately. Like, YouTube doesn't show all the views immediately. It takes some time for them to register. As more time progresses, the more accurate that number becomes, because the views do slow down, and so the public calculations catch up. And they're never off by a lot. They're just usually like maybe 1 to 10 to 20%, a little bit more, that shows privately. So I don't know. Like, I know this. It's not like the Switch 2 trailer is doing bad. It's just I'm not sure if I should be concerned or not, because it's only at 19 million views. I don't know if it's ever going to get to 60. Like, I am not sure on that. It might be the case that Nintendo did not do enough to really get the ball rolling. But it kind of goes to, what I guess the title for tonight's live stream is, right? Like, it kind of goes back to the Switch 2 Direct, because that's where I think things are going to truly change, when they have games to actually talk about. It's the games that matter. And that's it goes to the point I was talking about earlier. Like, hey, what we were talking about earlier. The trailer was fine, but in comparison to the Switch 1 first look trailer, kind of mid by comparison, because that had games. So, I am concerned about this trailer not doing as well long term compared to the Switch 1. But maybe this is just not the trailer that's going to do it. It's that Direct that's going to have a proper Mario Kart trailer, a proper 3D Mario trailer, maybe a Prime 4 Switch 2 version trailer, some other surprise games, maybe Donkey Kong or Star Fox or something. Like, those are, like, when we start to see those trailers, right? Like, that's when I think things are going to really pick up. And maybe there's going to be like another Switch 2 trailer that really takes off, that kind of is in that form of the Switch 1 first look, where we see like a whole bunch of like actors, going in different settings, playing different games on it. Like, that's going to be like a big deal trailer. And we haven't gotten that yet.
I do wonder if we're going to get something like that at the Super Bowl. Just a little bit more elaborate of something.
I was optimistic in the past that maybe we'd see something by the Super Bowl. But I don't think so, personally.
They don't
there are
need it
people
this
who well, I just don't think they're gonna do it. Do I think that would benefit them? Maybe. To your point about them not needing it, Nintendo's like popularity now is so much greater than it was in the past. They don't have to spend as much money to like tell everyone that something is happening. But I am wondering, like, if they're really like, I don't think they're doing a great job of getting people extremely excited for this thing. Like, the more I think about it, yet, just so we're clear, I think they got started with that reveal, but it was kind of like the bare minimum.
Yeah, How did you feel when you saw the first look trailer and you saw that the direct was scheduled for April 2nd? Because I think we were thinking it would be sooner, like a lot sooner.
Um, I mean, I definitely wanted it to be sooner. I agree. I agree with that, but it's actually a it's actually happening pretty quick in comparison to how Nintendo handled Switch 1. So the Switch 1 first look was October 20th, 2016, and then it was like January 13th that we had that big presentation, and that was about 12 weeks later. This direct is less than 12 weeks after the reveal. So we're actually looking at a slightly, it's like 11 weeks in some days. It's like a slightly shorter turnaround. So when you look at it from that perspective, they're actually doing things slightly quicker compared to last time. I think part of the issue is that last time they had an initial stronger showing, and we didn't have to wait that long for this console, right? Like the Wii U was only around for 4.5 years before the Switch came out. In this case, the Switch has been around for over 8 years.
Yeah, it's going to be
So
almost double by the time Switch 2 comes out.
yeah, it's going to be more. I think it might be more than double. Because Wii U came out holiday 2012, and Switch came out March 2017. So that is
2 years and 4 months, or not 2 years.
What?
4 years and 4 months, I believe.
Yeah, about 4 years and 4 months, at less than 4 years and a half. And Switch came out March 2017, right? And so we're here. It's gonna be March 2025, and that will be 8 years. And by the time Switch 2 comes out, I presume June. The way things are looking, it's gonna be, 8 years and 3 months. So yeah, you're right. Slightly less than double, but almost double. Almost double, which is crazy. So I think that goes into it, though. I think that the fact that we've had to wait so long, that the initial showing wasn't as much, it makes the wait feel longer. Also, the wait happened for Switch. What happened during the holidays? So everyone was busy with the holidays. Now there's no holidays going on right now. It's just kind of like nothing, We got Xenoblade X in March. That's cool. But yeah, I think it feels longer, but it's technically shorter. And I don't know if how many people realize that. Like, I see a lot of people arguing, "Oh, the Switch 2 is probably not going to come out till like September or the holidays," and I mean, I don't think so. I don't know if you disagree, but they're following a very similar format to Switch 1. It's just happening 3 months later. So I think we're positioned for a late May to June release. Are you there? Hello? Oh, you're muted, so I guess you're not there. Checking with the chat. A guy you don't know asked me, with the shock factor of the Switch's portable hybrid concept having long worn off, by using the same hook for Switch 2 was always going to be less exciting than Switch 1. That's an interesting point.
I'm here, Andres. I was talking to someone. Sorry.
It's all good. I'd like to point out that Boo Mini has gifted not one, but 2 different memberships. Boo Mini, you remain the member gift giving MVP. Thank you. Let's see here. Yes, the current music playing in the background is Xenoblade. It's from Xenoblade 1.
So, I guess I'm wondering, how much do you think these trailer reviews and this initial hype is going to have an impact on initial sales? Because I feel like another thing to consider is everyone knows what Switch is. And Switch 2, inherently, through the name, it's like, oh, this is just another Switch. I don't need to, look too much into this. You think that's a factor?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Well, you think part of the reason that Switch 2 trailer views might be lower is because people already know about Switch, and like a trailer for Switch 2 on a hardware level just inherently isn't as exciting. But it might still be something people buy, but they just don't look too much into it like they did with Switch.
Well, I mean, it goes to guy you don't know his point, right? Yeah, there's not so much surprise or shock factor. So there could very well be a little bit of that. It's almost like you look at you just look at the thumbnail for the Switch 2 first look trailer, and that tells you kind of like half of what you need to know already. So yeah, that could definitely be playing a role. I think also games not being in that trailer also play a very big role there. Like I really think that not having the other games was, I mean, a mistake in the sense of impacting its overall reach. So yeah, but I do agree. Like, there's not as much surprise factor, and some people want to blame the leaks on that. But the leaks only reach a certain audience. There are still people that would be surprised by this. I mean, we saw the mouse controls, and we know that they're mouse controls, right? But some people who don't keep up with the leaks, probably don't even know what that feature is for. It's just at this point like a subtle tease, if anything, to the general masses, and not seeing any games for it. Yeah, I mean, basically, I think the Switch 2 first look trailer, it's exciting because it's finally our first look at the Switch 2, and Mario Kart is awesome, but they could have done a much better trailer, and they chose not to. It's that simple.
I wonder why. Like, I wonder why they didn't put the same amount of effort into it. I don't think it matters too much in the end, but like it could, but why risk that?
Yeah. So, I'm checking my DMs currently with Logan. Apparently something at GameStop happened.
What happened?
Well, I want to see if it's okay first if I can bring it up. I think it's probably fine. Because there's been some stuff like this going around already. So Logan basically is telling me here, right, that he's at a GameStop and he overheard a manager talk about the Switch, and he said to a customer that there will be a big Switch 1 game this year, and it's not Metroid related. So that's what Logan heard. A big Switch 1 game specifically that hasn't been announced yet. This might be similar to the rumor we heard from PH Brazil. We talked about a few days ago how he heard how there may be one last really big Switch 1 game that hasn't been announced yet. And I kind of went to the direction of Fire Emblem Remake, but it could be something bigger, conceivably. I don't know what else Nintendo will put out there for Switch 1 that could be that big. Now, some people might want to argue that the Mario Kart game we saw for Switch to reveal is like a Switch 1 game. I don't think so at all. I don't think that it's Mario Kart at all. I think that Mario Kart game is not possible on Switch 2. It may seem like it to some at first glance, but when you really kind of start to break it down, it's clear that that game's not running on Switch 1. Like maybe if they would have to scale it down a lot, but I just don't think so. I mean,
I
first
don't
off,
think they're
there's
gonna
24
bother.
characters on the track. Like that's kind of I feel like a huge tell. Like that's a lot of characters to put on there. Um, that alone, it would be stressful. Um, and the environments are huge, and there's the animation work is on another level. Like I just don't think so. Um, so we don't know what if there. Assuming there is like a supposed like surprise Switch One game. I don't think it's the Mario Kart thing. But what else would kind of make sense? Like, is it bigger than Fire Emblem Remake?
So I
I
feel like Fire Emblem it's relatively big. Like, it's like a Metroid or like Xenoblade big. And if a new
Yeah.
Metroid or Xenoblade comes out, like we consider that to be a pretty decent deal. But as for other things, I mean, they used up their Mario Party card. Um, I don't know if I would consider Mario Sports big. I mean, it's about the same, if not less, than Fire Emblem.
I mean, if it's a Mario Sports title, I don't even know why we're hyping it up.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Because
I hope
it's
it's
going to be
not
the
that.
same deal as last time. Um, I'm not
I
sure,
mean,
Andres.
quite frankly, like I think there are going to be a handful of new Switch One games that will come out in 2025, but when I say new, right, I just mean titles that will be available for purchase. Um, like one of those may include Fire Emblem Remake. Nate the Hate has reported Kirby Planet Robobot, right? Like that's another one. These would be remakes and remasters. If we're talking about ground up new stuff, there is the playtest program game that we saw playable for Switch One. We're not allowed to show footage of it, but there was a playtest program on Switch One. Now, I do think that's going to tie into Switch Two, but why would they not have a Switch One version if they already had a playable Switch One version?
I
So
played it.
you did,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's probably our most realistic outcome. Like, I think it's going to look different um than what it
maybe,
looked in the playtest, but like minimally, nothing crazy. But um yeah, I think that's going to be a game that's released for sure. It's too in depth not to be.
yeah. Um, by the way, 12 Feet Tall is asking me the music in the background. Currently, this is Xenoblade One music. It's Sartel Marsh.
Yes.
Um, and the music that this transitioned to is Gate of Time from Skyward Sword. Yeah, I mean, so we got that playtest game, right? There's gonna be Pokemon Legends ZA, there's gonna be Prime 4, we got the Kirby Planet Robot rumor, we have the Fire Emblem remake rumor. Prime 2 and 3, I think, are gonna come to Switch 1. Wind Waker HD is another one that may arrive at some point. Like, that's a great deal of games that could come. There were rumors of F-Zero something. Maybe that what's being referred to as F-Zero. I kind of feel like maybe that comes to Switch 2 at this point, but it's hard to say for sure. And so that's another one that maybe, could be coming. And obviously we're already getting Xenoblade X in March, right? And we just got Donkey Kong. Like, you think about all these things, like there's still a lot of potential games and games that will be coming.
Yeah, I think Switch is going to have great support this year. Like, I would
Yeah.
argue it could even have greater support than last year, this year, with like Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA, and like it's gonna have really good support. Um, I just don't know if we're gonna get anything like unless this new game that's being referred to, I assume it's not, but unless it's Wind Waker, like that can be considered a big seller, but that's a remaster. So it's a port of a remaster.
Yes. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD would be a port of a remaster. Is it really that big of a deal? It will probably sell at least a handful of million, though. People have been anticipating it for a very long time. So that would be a big deal. One game that I think should be talked about that maybe it's not getting that much discussion right now is Donkey Kong. And I am not talking about Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. This is a game I expect for Switch 2. But since we're talking about possible Switch 1 games, I mean, maybe, right? It's always possible Nintendo could announce another big game, maybe on a level of Prime 4 or Legend ZA, that is a Switch 1 game, but also has an enhanced Switch 2 version. And we theorize Prime 4 is going to have an enhanced version. We're seeing from the Terra leaks that apparently Legend ZA, there may be a Switch 2 version for that as well. But on the note of Donkey Kong, I don't think it is... I think there's something to the new design of Donkey Kong that we're seeing in the Mario Kart footage. Yes, that design is similar to the design we saw in the Donkey Kong movie. But we are also getting the Donkey Kong expansion this year in the Super Nintendo World Park. We just got Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. They hired Seth Rogen specifically for the Donkey Kong role in the movie. I don't think all these things amount to nothing. I think they amount to something. I think we are headed into a new generation of Donkey Kong. This is all to keep Donkey Kong relevant. Nintendo, why would Nintendo expand to Donkey Kong before Zelda or Pokemon or Animal Crossing or Splatoon?
Well, yeah, what they're doing in Nintendo World is like indicating, like, we want to push Donkey Kong more than Zelda right now. In terms of like media outside of video games, we want to push him more. Obviously Donkey Kong is tied with Mario, so that's another reason, but clearly they still really care about him and they want to make I think they're pretty clearly going to make a new game about Donkey Kong. It's just a matter of, is it going to be another country game, or is it going to be like 3D, even more ambitious?
I don't think it's going to be another country game.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be 3D.
So I've talked about this before, but I think there's something to this. So, do you remember the Midori codename leaks?
Yes.
There's a variety of them. A couple of them led us to know about Super Mario Party Jamboree and The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, but there are still several more. One of them was SP Red. And from what we understand that Red, anytime there's a Nintendo codename with Red in it, that stands for Mario, right? SP Special Mario, that's clearly for the next Super Mario game, right? That's the codename for the next 3D Mario coming for Switch 2. Spiral is believed to be for Splatoon. Legacy is believed to be for the next Monolith Soft, a new IP, like whatever they're working on there. But there was another one that's Silver Star. Or rather, Red Star was the codename for Mario Odyssey. Red Mario Star Odyssey. And so Silver Star doesn't have red in it. So it's probably not a Mario game. But the fact that it has Star suggests that as an internal Nintendo project, it may be related to the Mario Odyssey in some way. And what's extra interesting about this is that in the beginning of the Switch era, we now know that Nintendo was working with Activision on a 3D open world Donkey Kong project. This has been corroborated by several reports. It's not like, it's on what's that that YouTube channel that talks about it. They even put a report about it months later with more details. It's I forgot the name of the YouTube channel. They do a lot of great stuff with developer interviews and things like that. Very popular. I don't know. The name's slipping my mind. Anyways, this has been reported many times, right? We've talked about it. There was a canceled Activision project. There was a Donkey Kong project. And we don't know what Nintendo did afterwards. But it was in the beginning of the Switch era. And, Mario Odyssey came out in 2017. And so the rumor that kind of surfaced from these reports is that Nintendo went on to start developing a Donkey Kong game of their own after the canceled Open World 3 Donkey Kong project with Activision. And now we have this codename of Silver Star. They never made a new Odyssey DLC or sequel. They just strangely moved away from Odyssey. We never saw anything from it again. But we have this project supposedly started around the beginning of the Switch era when Odyssey came out, and we have this code name of Silver Star. I think there's a really fat chance that like a good chance, like a big chance that Silver Star from these codename leaks is a project that was relating to Donkey Kong. Now the question is this project still in the works? We don't know. But when you think about the park,
I agree with you.
The designs that we're seeing for Donkey Kong now, how they're not just pushing in the movie, but now even a Mario Kart game, the recent release of Country Returns HD, I think there is this intent with Donkey Kong. There is a plan, and this Silver Star project may have been a Donkey Kong game that they've been sitting on, maybe kind of polishing up, saving for its next generation. Possibly it is a Switch 1 game. Maybe it's another one. Maybe it's another like Metroid Prime 4 Legend ZA style kind of game where it's for Switch 1, but there's maybe a Switch 2 version. And it would still be a big deal. And it would make some sense because the Mario Odyssey team, we haven't seen anything from them this entire generation outside of Odyssey in the very beginning. It does not take 8 years to make a game. They could have made 2 Odyssey level games during this era.
Exactly.
So it's very strange unless they've been sitting on one of them. And that one of them is a Donkey Kong game. And I don't think it's a 2D Donkey Kong game. I think it would be a Donkey Kong game made with the Odyssey engine. So I'm implying that it would be like a 3D style Donkey Kong game. This is speculation, right? Based off rumors and leaks and reports and what's going to be going on with Nintendo. But I think there's definitely something to it. I think that Nintendo's gonna bring us bring a Donkey Kong game. So I don't know. Maybe this whole GameStop thing has to do with that. Maybe what PH Brazil was talking about has to do with that. Maybe it's not Fire Emblem Remake. Maybe it's a completely separate thing. Maybe. But regardless, I think we're going to see, like, even if the Silver Star, the GameStop stuff, even if none of that materializes into anything, I still think that it makes sense for a new Donkey Kong game to happen relatively soon. Nintendo does cross-promotion for a reason. You look at what they did with Pikmin. They put Pikmin in the Universal Park. They had Pikmin 3 Deluxe. They had the Pikmin mobile game, which they pushed multiple times, and they mentioned in a Nintendo Direct, a general Direct, after it was already out, and they had an entire segment from Miyamoto. Like, that was weird, but I think it had purpose. The idea is to push Pikmin overall. I mean, we go back to, where was it? On Nintendo's YouTube channel. One of the most popular videos is the Pikmin shorts that came out 4 years ago, right? All these things amounted to Pikmin 4 that came out in 2023. It's kind of wild that we're already like more than a year, about a year and a half removed from the release of that game. But all those different things amounted to something. And so what I'm getting at with Donkey Kong is that we see all these different Donkey Kong things going on that's going to amount to something big. A Pikmin 4 level game, but Donkey Kong, which would be huge. Pikmin 4 is one of my favorite games of the entire Switch era, so I think that would be huge.
And Pikmin 4 was finally the game that launched Pikmin into like 3 million plus sales. Mm-hmm. So that's great.
New level for Pikmin. I wouldn't be surprised if it hits 4 million. Like, actually, I want to double check the sales for Pikmin.
Yeah, so I think Pikmin is now, this is off topic, but I think like Pikmin 5 potentially could come in, like 3 years or something. Because I think they see this as a series that they can support now, and it'll make them their money back.
For sure. So I checked. Apparently, Pikmin 4 had sold 3.48 million copies worldwide as of March 31st, 2024, which is nearly a year ago. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Pikmin is approaching 4 million by this point. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
But as for Donkey Kong, I mean, unless they're making like the GTA 6 of Mario games, there's no way it's taking them 8 years to make a game. They have to have been working on something, and we've been hearing about Silver Star. So yeah, I feel like they took some people away from that team. And I remember way back then, like before all the Silver Star stuff, I remember there was rumors of the Odyssey team working on a Donkey Kong game.
There were, yeah,
So it kind of fits together.
yeah. Um, there's been a lot of Donkey Kong smoke, but it's just been weird because we haven't seen it. And so yeah, maybe Nintendo's sitting on one last big Switch game. Maybe it's Donkey Kong, and they've also made a cross-gen version. Maybe. Like I'm just personally at the point where I think it would be weird for Nintendo to not have an enhanced version for pretty much any major new game that comes out at this point. So like if even Legend ZA has a Switch 2 version, any other big Nintendo game that comes out after this point should have a Switch 2 version. And that doesn't mean like, from the ground up necessarily, but at least like, a higher resolution, better frame rate version or something, at least. In the case of Legend of Z8, that's what I'm expecting for that one. In the case of Prime 4, I think it's going to be a bit more significant. For Donkey Kong, I don't know. We're spitballing here. I would assume that Donkey Kong game is not coming to Switch 1 at all. But because we have this, let's call it rumor, that there's another big Switch 1 game, then, maybe.
Perhaps.
So I'm going back to the poll I put up half an hour ago. I'm going to end it. It got 162 votes, and I had asked, did Nintendo hurt their chances of success by showing less games in this Switch 2 first look trailer? 77% said no. It did not hurt their chances. And ultimately, I agree with that. I don't think it was the best trailer, but I don't think it matters because I think once they have the big Switch 2 Direct, that's what really matters, what we see there. And if they don't bring the goods there, then it's a problem. But I am so confident that they are going to bring the goods. I was talking about this earlier with a friend, but if there's a time, hey, Ricardo in the chat, actually, I was talking about earlier how, like, if there's a time to be hyped up for a Direct, it is the Switch 2 Direct. Like, I know some people like to, like, temper their expectations and not think a Direct may be that good, but if there's ever a time to think, man, this Direct is probably going to be the best Direct ever, it's this one, because it's the Direct that will reveal Nintendo's next generation in full. They will give us all the details on what we need to know for the launch of their next generation console, their presumed future for the next 8 years or so. So, yes, this Direct probably should be a very big deal. And if it's not, to be honest with you, I think that would just be a huge, huge mistake on Nintendo's part if it's not the best Direct we've seen in years. It has to be. It's their next generation. It literally has to be, or it's a failure. So, feel free to disagree, by the way. That's just...
If we're just talking about Nintendo Directs, like, I see no reason why it shouldn't be the greatest Direct of all time. Like, if we're talking Switch presentation, perhaps it could be debatable, but...
Yeah, exactly. The Switch 1 presentation wasn't a Direct.
Right. In terms of just Directs, this should be the best one. Otherwise, yeah, they disappointed.
Like, if you have a Direct that has a new Mario Kart, a new 3D Mario, that's already putting it up there, in terms of some of the best Directs. But then if you show us more footage on Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends ZA, maybe a new Donkey Kong game, maybe a Star Fox game, 20 different third-party games, and just show us some cool features for the console, like, that's a pretty big deal.
And if we see, like, Monolith Soft there with Legacy, if we see Ocarina of Time remake, I mean, it seems like fantastical to me because I love Ocarina of Time so much, but it's starting to look likelier as the years go on that we are going to get a remake of it. So if we saw that, oh my god.
So I'm going to put another poll question based off that. Chat is for a big Zelda remake showing off during the Switch 2 Direct. I don't think it's high, just for so we're clear. I don't think we're going to see the Zelda remake this year. I think it's a 2026 thing for the 40th anniversary. But, you know, it is a new console for Nintendo. They know Zelda does hype things up, so maybe they might think, hey, maybe we should show the Zelda thing off sooner than later. And maybe what I'm saying there is still accurate, and they maybe have like a Game Awards reveal. You know, it's like, hey, this is coming out in 2026. Then they do that later this year, which would still mean they don't show it off in this Direct. But I'm still curious on what you guys think, so I'm going to put the question in the poll here. Chances for a big Zelda remake showing off during the Switch 2 Direct. I'm going to put 25. I think I only can put 4 choices, so I'll put 25% or lower. I mean, you guys can figure that out. 50%.
There's going to be some surprises at the Direct. There always is. There's always things that we haven't thought about. So, you know, we could see Star Fox there, for example. You know, I wouldn't say it's out of the question, but yeah.
All right. So I'm very curious on where people stand on this chances for a Zelda remake to be shown off during the Switch 2 Direct. Me personally, I would put 25% or lower. But I'll see what you guys have to say.
I'm gonna give it an exact percentage.
Okay.
I want to say it has a greater than 1/3 chance of happening, so I'll give it 34%.
34%.
Yeah.
So for the poll, I just put 25, 50, 75, 100. Would you put 50 or would you put 25?
I would put 25. I feel like it could be a thing that's very likely for like a September Direct or something.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a thing that's like holiday 2026, I would imagine.
Maybe. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, if it's happening, I think it's a 2026 title. I mean, it's a theory, right? Like, let's be clear. It's a theory. It's a theory that I think a lot of us believe, but it's still a theory at the end of the day. Like, so we'll see.
And we also have to consider that for 2025, Switch 2 is only going to have like 6 months on the market. So there's not going to be that much room.
There's not that much room. If we're already assuming Mario Kart 3D Mario, you have Metroid Prime 4, Legend ZA, like, where do you fit it in? Right? Exactly. So Alma in the chat asks me, maybe the Donkey Kong game was too ambitious for Switch 1 and move development to Switch 2. Could be. I mean, it would explain why we haven't heard about it yet. It's also possible that they could still be a Switch 1 game, but they thought it might be best to save it for a little bit later, closer to the next Mario movie, after the release for the Donkey Kong Park, and, you know, in the beginning of the Switch 2 generation, if it's cross-gen. I would like to assume at this stage that any sort of big new Nintendo game is probably a Switch 2 exclusive. But, you know, if the rumor is that there's going to be at least one more big surprise Nintendo game for Switch 1, then, you know, maybe it's that one. Especially if it's been in development throughout the entire Switch era. It's possible. Let's see here. Mark That Complete adds me. I think it's Super Mario 3D World 2, and then we'll get a proper 3D next Mario on Switch 2 sooner than usual. A Super Mario 3D World 2 would actually be pretty dope. I don't think we'll see that for the launch year Switch 2, but I'll take a 3D World sequel. I think it would be a mistake to do that for the launch of Switch 2, though. But we'll see.
I would enjoy it, but I don't think there's too much of a chance of that happening, considering Odyssey's success.
Yeah. Kuro Kamina. Andre, well, the question is, do we actually know that Silver is connected to? If Red is Mario, then what is Donkey Kong? Yeah, and so that's a good question. I theorize that Silver Star wouldn't be for Donkey Kong because it's silver. I mean, for Mario, right? Because it's red. Mario is red. So what would silver be for? Donkey Kong does have a silver power up. The Super Kong, he's silver. And there's also the Silverback Gorilla, which Donkey Kong is similar to. So, like, I'm just saying, like, if they were to be coming up with a code name for a video game that is similar to Mario Odyssey and using the Odyssey engine, but is not based off Mario, but Donkey Kong, I can see the development team choosing Silver Star as the code name. Like, I think that would be a reasonable leap.
Yeah.
Either that or it's maybe it's a Star Fox game and it's starring Wolf, and he's got, or Fox's dad, and it's like silver hairs, and it's made in the odd. Like, no, I'm just throwing stuff out there at this point, but that's how I would make the connection though, because Donkey Kong, like out of other Nintendo characters, like Donkey Kong would have a connection to silver more so than others.
You know, another thing to consider with this hypothetical Donkey Kong game, you know, if it is in development, I don't think it and 3D Mario would come out in the same year. I don't know if that would make much sense. So, and I assume 3D Mario is coming out this year. I would think it's coming out this year.
I would be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah.
Right. So, are we on the same page that they could possibly be different years, right?
Donkey Kong, yeah. I think that could be a 2026 title.
So, I don't think that's our big Switch game for this year. I was just thinking back to before.
It's an interesting point. I mean, the thing is, like, who's to say you can't have two platformers in the same year, though? I think Donkey Kong and Mario are pretty different from each other, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to pick, I would say they would be in different years, just so we're clear. But I wouldn't rule it out entirely, though.
Right. It could be. It's a very, like, Mario's more focused on, I mean, you could just look at Country Returns versus Wonder, right? Wonder's focused on, like, the set pieces and, you know, making you have as much fun as possible, while Donkey Kong's more focused on challenging platforming. So it's different.
Yeah. But let's go in that direction, though, right? Let's say that they wouldn't put Donkey Kong in the same year as Mario, and there is supposed to be one more big surprise Switch 1 game. What in the world would that be?
I don't know, man. I've been thinking about it. I feel like Fire Emblem, like for us, I feel like that's big. I feel like that's a big deal. Three Houses was a big deal. And from everything that I know about Genealogy of the Holy War, if remade, that's possibly going to be the best Fire Emblem, just based on the story and the ambition of it alone.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
if it's
going to be a
remade, it's
massive game.
effectively a new game, right? Like, they
Right.
probably won't even call it remake, or it'll just be like Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. Like the way Nintendo does do remakes now, they don't, when it's a remake, they don't put like HD or remastered or anything like that. They just put the name. So yeah, like they're gonna treat it like just basically like a new Fire Emblem game, basically. So I mean, I think that, I mean, maybe that's what it is. You know, like we're here trying to think about, it could be other things, but that, so, you know, sometimes the simplest answer is the right answer. So,
And to be clear, I do think that game is like 90% going to release this year. I would be surprised if it doesn't.
why are you so confident?
Because there was a massive gap between Three Houses and Engage. And I don't know if you remember, but we saw Engage leak really early. And I feel like that game was being sat on. And they've potentially had like 3+ years to work on Fire Emblem 4 remake.
Yeah, like the Fire Emblem remake was rumored around the same time as the Engage one. then the Engage one was leaked and it came out like pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been sitting on this other Fire Emblem game as well for a while, which will just kind of go to show that like Nintendo has a lot of games that are just at the ready. So
I feel
I
like
mean,
it's
I think
just
we're on the
like a
same
Wind
page
Waker
here.
situation. Like they're waiting for the right time to pull the trigger. They're waiting for a rainy day for Switch 1, which I guess never came. And we're here today on the brink of Switch 2, but now's the time to release all these ports that we've been waiting on, like Prime 2 and 3, and Wind Waker, and Fire Emblem 4 potentially.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I'd be happy with it.
I don't know if you've seen any gameplay of Genealogy, but the maps in that game are so massive that you have different checkpoints in the maps where you save and quit at. I
That is
believe.
interesting. I haven't played it. I've seen footage of it though.
Yeah, so it's kind of a really story focused game with really big maps and ginormous battles. So it would feel
Sounds
like a
cool.
fitting end to Fire Emblem on Switch.
I'd be so for it. Mark that complete adds me. You're forgetting Super Mario Galaxy 2 HD. Not forgetting it, but that I think is a very interesting Switch 1 title that we could see. I think the chances go up versus see something like that because we do have the 40th anniversary of Mario coming, and it's going to be interesting to see like how Nintendo operates with both the 40th anniversary and the launch of the Switch 2. And I think just having Mario Kart and 3D Mario, you're already kind of satisfying the whole 40th anniversary thing with just those two huge games. But there is potential to go bigger. Like Donkey Kong kind of falls within that a little bit. I've mentioned the possibility of Luigi's Mansion 4 maybe being ready. Next Level Games comes out with games every 3 years. It's 2025. 3 years ago, they came out with Strikers. 3 years before that, with Luigi's Mansion 3. So, timing wise, we are close. Although, personally, I think given that we're going into a next generation, Nintendo's been sitting on a lot of things, I wouldn't be surprised if the next Level Games project we don't see till 2026. But looking at how they handle the 35th anniversary, there are more like the anniversary plans trickled into the beginning of the next year, right? Like to close out the fiscal year by March of it. So like it's possible, like we could even see like Luigi's Mansion 4 as part of the 40th anniversary plans come out like early 2026. It's also possible that Luigi's Mansion 4 is different enough that they don't even include it as part of the 40th anniversary. It's just kind of like, hey, there's another game here, right? Like just because there's anniversary plans, that doesn't mean they won't have like another Mario game come out like a year later, because the Mario games come out all the time. So that's just another game that could be there.
Yeah, there's so many games that could potentially happen. And you begin to think, we're theorizing about 3D Mario and Luigi's Mansion and stuff, and it sounds like a lot, but it truly is realistic for all these titles because they've had this off year with 2024, and they've, in my opinion, and I think in your opinion too, delayed the Switch 2 into this year from last year.
Because
So,
okay.
well, I think I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Switch 2 was originally supposed to be in 2024?
I don't think we know. Like there were reports it was supposed to be, but I think the issue is that there is the sources for those reports. I think that like the Eurogamer, the Bloomsburg, the Video Games Chronicle, the Nate the Hates, like they all talk about Switch 2 coming out last year. And because of the credibility of all those different venues and people, I thought, okay, yeah, this is when it's happening. And it turned out they were all wrong. So the question is, like, why were they wrong? Were they wrong because Nintendo delayed the console? Or were they wrong because their sources were never right to begin with? like these places have been right about a lot of things, right? So I don't think we should really like think that they're full of it. But for example, let's say a lot of these reports come from third-party sources, right? Like third-party companies involved with Nintendo, and Nintendo never really tells them exactly when the console's coming out. Maybe they give ideas, right? And the third-party companies come up with conclusions, and those conclusions aren't quite right. And so maybe those conclusions trickle down to Bloomberg, Video Games Chronicle, and so on. They put out the reports, and once it comes time for, when Nintendo would do things, it doesn't actually happen. I think there's a possibility that maybe something like that could have gone down. I will tell you that, we go back a year ago, there was talk of a reveal happening in March for the console. Like
Right.
what we just got like last week, maybe that was supposed to happen like a year ago or something. Maybe something a little bit smaller. But I think that like I don't want to distrust the sources, right? Like I was even told that like a reveal is going to happen in March last year, and so I just want to like assume that there was just a delay, an internal delay, which happens. So, and what's funny though is that like, let's say they were planning for like a holiday release for the Switch 2, and it ends up coming out like in June. That's only about a half a year delay, like a little bit more, but not by like, a 6 to 8 month delay is really not that much of a delay. So maybe that's what happened. I know some people look at like Mario Party Jamboree and Echoes of Wisdom and think that Nintendo never planned to come out with the Switch 2 last year, but I would argue that they may have initially planned for the Switch 1 to get stronger support in the beginning, and they would have kind of weaned off it, a little bit slower. But because things have taken this long for Switch 2, that cutoff for Switch 1 is going to be a little bit more obvious. I think there's still going to be Switch 1 games, but it's just going to be that period where we see less and less support is going to be a little bit more obvious and quick compared to if had the Switch 2 launched last year.
Another thing to consider with Jamboree and Echoes of Wisdom, and basically every release in 2024, I don't believe there was a single game that released that last year that was developed by Nintendo themselves. I think they were all third parties from what I remember.
Pretty much a lot of support development.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say if Switch 2 was supposed to come out in holiday 2024, but, even if it wasn't, it being delayed, or it coming out later on, rather, even if it wasn't delayed, is going to help them a lot with their software pipeline. We're going to see a lot very quickly through 2025 and 2026.
Yeah. The more I think about it, though, like, if the Switch 2 reveal was supposed to happen last March, I'm not even sure how much that because I would like to think that Nintendo always intended on having a quick turnaround, like a about a 4.5 month turnaround. Those are the signs we're seeing for Switch 2. That's how they handled Switch 1. So if they were to actually reveal the console in March, that would have meant, that it comes out, like late summer. But maybe reveal that it would have been more like what Nintendo did in May last year or something, where they're like, hey, like this is like they must have, if this was actually going to happen, they must have changed their plans significantly. So, I don't know. There's definitely some weird things there that I don't quite understand. But regardless, the fact of the matter is the console's coming out this year. That's what is happening. We're already in 2025, and it looks like we're just a few months away. So it's gonna be
Indeed.
good. Once we get to that direct in April, things are gonna really pick up. And something that's kind of exciting is that a lot of people have been kind of talking about how Star Fox might happen, and I think maybe maybe Star Fox is truly on the table. I think eventually Star Fox will come. It would be interesting to see it as a title in the Switch 2. I mean, we talked about what possible Switch 1 games. What if Star Fox is the big surprise Switch 1 game? I That would be a head scratcher to me because I feel like at this point you just make a Switch 2 title, right? But that would be neat. Now there is a rumor that there's going to be a Star Fox Adventures like game. But that's coming from Samus Hunter, and I'm not sure how much we should trust Samus Hunter right now. Like, yes, they got Emio, the Smiling Man, correct. They got Xenoblade X correct. They got the Donkey Kong Super Nintendo World Direct correct. We're still waiting on the Silk Song. They said it would happen in the winter. We are in the winter still, so I would assume that if they're correct, we would hear about that, before the end of February, right? So maybe in the whatever direct we're getting in February, maybe Silk Song is there. If Silk Song is not there, then that's the kind of like another reason to maybe doubt Samus Hunter. But they talked about not just the Star Fox, and they also talked about Prime 4 being the launch title for Switch 2. And right now, that's very debatable. Because right now, Mario Kart looks like probably the launch title, because that's the first game they showed for Switch 2. Now, in today's video that I put out, I argued, well, maybe we get both Prime 4 and Mario Kart as the launch titles, which might seem kind of crazy, but I think there is that potentiality. We'll have to wait and see. But the main point is the rumors from Silex Hunter, while she's gotten some things right, it's not Silex, Samus Hunter, she's gotten some things right. I'm currently a little bit more skeptical than before, though. After Switch 2 reveal, there's a lot of things they've been saying lately, and I think I need a little bit more kind of like things that they've gotten right for me to be more confident in what they've been talking about. Right now, they've just said a lot, and some of the stuff is weird, like a Star Fox Adventure style kind of game. Like that's weird. Now, at the same time, it's also hard to predict that, right? So if they get it right, that's like a holy crap. Like, they only knew this because they have some sort of inside knowledge on what's going on. Like, who's going to predict the return to a Star Fox game with an Adventures like formula? No one. Virtually no one, right?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if something like that gets announced this year, then we kind of know.
I think when we see a return for Star Fox, it is going to be significantly different than what we've seen. It can't just be straight up a rail shooter trying to chase the highs of Star Fox 64 anymore. I haven't played this game, but from what I've heard, Star Fox Assault did have on the ground missions, and it had missions like rail shooter missions, like traditional Star Fox.
Yeah.
So I guess we just need to see a Star Fox game that's just something different, like more exploration, going to different planets and stuff, and doing stuff in between those missions. And I think at that point, if they make a really good game out of that, we could potentially see another tentpole franchise with Star Fox. They just need to do it right.
Yeah. I love Star Fox Adventures, but it isn't a normal Star Fox game. Star Fox Assault is kind of more like what I would expect of Star Fox, but there are some execution issues with the on foot missions. If they're gonna go back to like a Star Fox Adventures like formula, I would assume and hope that it's not exactly Star Fox Adventures. Like, it's made to be a Star Fox game from the beginning. Because the thing about Star Fox Adventures, it was initially going to be a totally new IP called Dinosaur Planet. The whole Star Fox Adventures thing was kind of like shoot in late into development. And so this time around, if they're going to go in that direction, I would presume that they're going in that direction from the get-go, knowing this would actually be a Star Fox IP, right? And so while there may be exploration elements, on foot stuff, dungeons, very adventures like having a little bit of a Zelda formula to it, there would still be, the flying segments, the actual Star Fox stuff, right? And so I actually think that if this rumor is legitimate, it may be very exciting for Star Fox fans and even Zelda fans too, because if it's a Zelda-like game, I think Zelda fans would want to give it a whirl, right? But it wouldn't be insulting to longtime Star Fox fans because they would be built with Star Fox in mind. But it's a rumor, so we'll see what actually happens. However, there are other rumors that something Star Fox is coming, so maybe there's a connection there.
I sure hope so.
Right?
F-Zero, I think, is that could even be like this or next year. GX at least, not like a new game.
I think Samus Hunter was hinting at that too, but I think she was arguing it was going to be a new game. So if we get an F-Zero game, it's basically a new game. We'll see, right?
Hasn't
Nate the
I'll take just a GX. About GX.
Nate the Hate's been talking about something F-Zero, maybe a GX remaster. Like he has been on that train. I don't know if he's like saying that he knows he's not like reporting, hey, there's going to be an F-Zero GX remaster in the same way he's reported Kirby Planet Robot. The F-Zero thing's more like speculation, but I do think it's speculation based off things that have been murmured. So, I think there's a little bit more to it, but when we see this F-Zero project, it's hard to say.
Yeah, I feel like 99 had to have meant something.
Yeah. Looking here at the chat, Wilberforce Booster here says, did Samus Hunter at first poo-poo next handheld? If she knew things, she know it was real. So I believe, actually, I'm certain on this because I remember reading it and talking about it. Samus Hunter said something along the lines of that some elements of what Next Handheld was saying is true, but not all of it. So, they didn't say they may have poo-pooed some elements to what Next Handheld was talking about, but not all of it. Like they said that some of it to them it was probably real. So they would argue it was a mixed bag. And I mean, I think to some extent that is probably true actually, because Next Handheld did say that the Switch 2 would in docked mode be 4K 30, and that's just not true. Like I don't need anyone. I don't need any I don't need any other information to know that, because how in the world would the Switch 2 only be able to run up to 30 frames per second in docked mode? Like that's not possible. Now is the implication that it can do 4K, but if it's at 4K, it's probably only going to do 30 and not 60 FPS. Maybe there's something to that, but I would think that if 4K is possible, depending on the game, 60 FPS, would also be possible at the same time. Like for example, what if they make like a Tetris 99, right? Like that's not demanding at all to the hardware. You're going to tell me they can't do Tetris 99 at 4K at 60 frames per second? The Wii, they could. So
Metroid Prime 4.
I mean, there are going to be games that are going to run at 60. like there's no way that it's not gonna be able to do 60 FPS games because we've been seeing 60 FPS games since the GameCube. Maybe even I don't know. There might have been some 60 FPS N64 games, but I know back then there were games that were under 30, and that was the norm. Like Ocarina of Time was like at 20 frames per second or something. So, point is though that 60 FPS has been normal for Nintendo games for decades at this point. There's no way the Switch 2 will not be able to run 60 FPS games. 4K 60 at the same time, maybe it's a little bit more debatable, but like I was just saying, for at least really, really simple games, 4K 60 has to be possible. That's anything that's somewhat demanding, maybe not, but at least really, really simple games, it has to be something that is possible. So that part of the next handheld rumor / leak has to be wrong. And there may be other elements. I do want to do a deeper dive on the next handheld stuff, and I will. So my point simply is with the Samus Hunter thing, they did poo-poo it, but not all of it, only some of it. They said that they did also indicate that there was a big part of it that was probably real. So, you know, I don't think Samus Hunter has proven themselves to be completely inaccurate in this new day and age, even though in the past they certainly were. But I also think that they have said a lot as of late, and some things feel like they might be wrong, but we don't know the full picture yet. So I'm kind of playing the wait and see approach. If they say anything interesting, I'll probably talk about it, but am I going to believe it? I need a little bit more evidence.
Yeah, I agree.
Here, Velociraptor Ghost adds me. When we get the next direct and Nintendo says the one last thing, the screen goes black, and then we hear Zelda's Lullaby, I'll start crying. I'll start screaming. I'll start screaming and crying. I'll rip my shirt off. What? You'll lose consciousness?
Yes. Dude, Ocarina of Time remake is... Like, Ocarina of Time was pretty much my first video game that I ever played in full. So, and that's continued to have an impact on me. So just seeing a remake would be unreal.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a surreal moment for sure. I'm seeing here in the chat, Ricardo Hernandez, Andres, Tetris is a demanding game. 10,000 noodles. Tetris is demanding. I'm no good at organization. Okay, maybe not Tetris. How about Puyo Pop? Puyo Pop at 4K 60 has to be possible on Switch 2. Something. So, yeah.
Hey,
F099.
I know a game that's not graphically demanding at all. And it's not going to run at 60 frames per second either. Pokemon on Switch 2. It's going to run at 30.
I mean, supposedly for like the Breath of the Wild they had a Breath of the Wild technical demonstration for Switch 2 a while back, and that game supposedly was running at 4K 60 with virtually no load times. Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I mean, I definitely think the Switch 2 is gonna be able to do 4K 60. 4K 30, I think, is just a mistake. Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, whatever happens with Pokemon is not really a product of hardware limitations. It's more so a product of whatever Game Freak's got going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see with ZA. I'm decently optimistic, but I'm also being cautious approaching it. But we'll see next month, right?
Yeah. No trailer on the game yet, but I mean we're so close to the presents. We're a month away at this point, so we're getting there, and that's gonna be a big deal. Sam, how much would you pay for Ocarina of Time remake? Boo Mini would pay $100. How much would you pay?
Oh, I don't know, man. Like, obviously, it's not going to be worth $100, but what would I pay personally? I would pay a ungodly amount of money. I would pay a lot of money, like maybe 200.
Maybe we shouldn't say, because then Nintendo will be like, oh, really?
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
we're gonna make it 200. And
Yeah.
there's these
Alma would
rumors
pay
of,
250.
I don't
Yikes.
know if you've seen, but there's rumors of, um,
Yeah.
well, game devs want Grand Theft Auto 6 to be priced between $80 and $100, so
Yeah.
they can make their games more expensive, which would
Yeah.
be, yeah, I wouldn't appreciate that at all. But
Um, and when I saw that, I kind of thought about like a lot of games now do cost like $100 to $130. They do like the special like edition version where you're like, hey, you can get like 6 extra skins and you can get the DLC a day early, and all you have to spend is an extra 30-40 bucks. I'm like, I'm good, bro. But
yeah,
they're already doing like little things like that to kind of have a more expensive version of the game at launch. I see a lot of third parties doing it. Like, yeah, they definitely want like a $100 version, and it kind of annoys me. Like, I don't like seeing like 70. Listen, I get it. Like, I know that it's video games are a luxury, right? The industry is going through stuff. Like, I understand why devs want to do it, but just like me personally, like how I feel, like $70 for a game already feels like a lot of money. So I better really want that game. And then I see like these games like, oh, like here's it for $100. Oh wait, here's the $130 version, and it comes with a pink square that's
yeah.
worth the extra $60, right? Like, yeah.
Also, how do you think the general consumer is going to feel about like $80 or $90 or something for a general price? The company might end up making less money on that. So
I think them free to play games are going to become even more popular.
exactly. So if you're in the situation where you need to price your game between $80 and $100, maybe you should start thinking about being smarter with your development pipeline.
I agree. Maybe you shouldn't maybe your game shouldn't be that expensive. Like,
Right.
like I don't mean just like the retail price, like to your point, like the development of the game. Maybe it shouldn't cost you that much then. Like, be smart. Yeah, be smarter with how you're putting your games together.
And there's like many AAA games out there that don't have crazy high development costs that are, I don't know if you know of Expedition 33. It was at the Xbox showcase and it was at the developer direct today.
I haven't got a chance to look at the footage yet, but I know about it. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
it
cool.
looks incredible.
Yeah, it
From
does.
the trailer today.
It's kind of how I imagine how a Monolith Soft game would look on Switch 2.
Yeah, and that's $50. And it's like a AAA game and it's full length. Now it's indie. So they felt that they should price it lower, but still, like,
So then it's not really a AAA game.
well, yeah, it's not a AAA game by definition, but it's they
Seems
use their
like
budget
one.
smartly. Yeah, it feels
Right.
like it.
Yeah.
It's possible. And this is $50. Like the common price now is 70. So
Yeah.
I
And
just
meanwhile, you have
think,
Nintendo pricing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD at $60.
dude, that kills me. Like I want to play that game so bad because I grew up with Country Returns on Wii.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a hard pill to swallow.
It is. Jumpmon adds me, wasn't SpongeBob's Fun Edition for Battle for Bikini Bottom $300? My brain just melted. But like, that's an insane amount of money for a game, period. But yeah, like I'm sure the base game was like probably like what, 60-70 bucks, but they try to come up with these special like versions that cost more. And I mean, if you're a hardcore fan, you'll go for it. Like I remember for Dragon Ball Fighters, like not Fighters, the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, if you spent like an extra $30, you could get the game like 2 days early.
Yeah, I don't like that practice at all. Square Enix did it as well with Life is Strange.
Yeah. I would, to answer the question for Ocarina of Time remake, I don't know if there's a price I wouldn't pay.
Exactly.
Because that's
I
one of
would
those
probably
games
play
where
200.
I need it, right? But will Nintendo be able to get away with a price more than $70? No. I think the masses will ultimately be like, how dare you? You know, like there was already some blowback for TOTK being at $70. But I would also argue that Tears of the Kingdom was worth $70. Like it's a big game, you know. I think what's interesting is that Tears of the Kingdom might have been worth $70, but there's a lot of other Nintendo games that aren't worth $60. You know, so it would be nice if Nintendo did a better job of balancing those things, but they do what they can get away with. That's pretty much it. Oh, look at this. First super chat of the evening. Taker610. Are we thinking an Ocarina of Time remake could be cross-gen? I am
No.
not thinking that. I think, I mean, the big reason, a big reason why I believe this is happening is to get out a next generation Zelda game early on for the console, to showcase the abilities of the console and to get people to buy into it early on. So if you make it cross-gen, kind of defeats that purpose. Also, like, you know, I want them to take advantage of the hardware. Now, I'll also say that conceivably, they could remake Ocarina of Time for Switch 1 and it would still look incredible, right? Like, I think a good game to look at is Metroid Prime Remastered. Very different feel, I understand. But just look at how sophisticated those visuals are, and the scope of those environments aren't too much greater than Ocarina of Time's. I mean, outside of Hyrule Field, Metroid Prime environments are pretty much as big, if not bigger, than Ocarina of Time environments. Well, there are some biggish areas, but I think the point I'm trying to make here is that Metroid Prime Remastered looks incredible. Like so if they were to go to and make a game with that level of fidelity on Switch 1, but it'd be Ocarina of Time, like it would look totally different, right? I'm not trying to say you make a game look like Metroid Prime, but just like that level of fidelity, that would be with the physical based rendering, like it would just look insane, right? Now imagine what they could do on Switch 2, which is leaps and bounds more powerful. I think the Switch 2 is like 10 times more powerful than the Switch 1. Like it's supposedly, at least based off the teraflops, which again doesn't play the whole picture. There's a lot more to it than that. You might not even be able to argue the Switch 2 is even more powerful than that if you account for everything, but it's kind of hard to quantify. But there was this like graphic going around. I'm trying to find it. I'm looking through like all my Twitter likes because I know I liked it at one point.
I think the Switch in docked is 393 gigaflops, and I think the Switch 2 is like 3.1 teraflops.
I think
of
your
course,
memory is about correct, if not 100% correct.
Yeah, because I have this graphic. Yeah. It's on Nintendo Prime actually posts it. It was like Switch 2 measured in Switch 1 handhelds.
Yeah, that's literally the image I'm looking for on my Twitter likes. So it looks like you have it already.
Yeah.
Let's see, I can find it here. I've been scrolling for a little bit. I keep liking too many Miami Heat posts. It's been a tough time for my basketball team.
Yeah, he's gonna go to the Suns, or he's trying to get traded to the Suns, right?
Well, I just want him gone already. He's not even trying anymore. Whenever he plays, he's actively sabotaging games. So like we're losing a lot of games right now whenever he plays. Like, and the team. Oh, I found one, but this is based off Nintendo GameCubes, which is hilarious. I'll show you guys. So supposedly, right? This is how powerful the Switch 2 is in terms of GameCubes. So the GameCube is about 1 GameCube powerful. I don't think this is accurate where it says the Wii is like 1.25 GameCubes. I think it was actually more like 2. So this, I don't know how accurate this actually is, but maybe it's just in terms of teraflops. I don't know. The Wii U, the Switch, Switch 2 docked, See, I don't think this is an accurate graphic here, but yeah, the Switch 2. I just don't think it's accurate at all. Actually, no, it's not accurate. Do you have that one that you were the one that you were talking about is the one I actually want to show?
Yes.
Oh, I found it. This is
Oh,
what
you
I
got
want
it.
to show. Yeah. So you probably are seeing it now on screen, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
So this is based off the flops, right? So Switch handheld, 192 gigaflops. Switch docked, 393 gigaflops. Switch 2 handheld, 1.7. Switch 2 docked, 3.1. So Switch 1 handheld mode versus Switch 2 handheld mode. I'm counting 9. So according to this, it's like 9 times more powerful in handheld mode. And then is docked really? I don't think this is an exact formula, but they're saying docked, it's 2 handhelds. And then on Switch 2 is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's interesting. About 8 to 9 times more powerful if we just look at this simple image here. But I think there's more to it than that, right? Like this doesn't account for modern processing techniques. This doesn't account for the magic of DLSS. So, I mean, really, I feel like the Switch 2 is probably going to feel like more than a 10 times jump. Although, right? Sometimes like you can't really tell. Like you need bigger and bigger jumps to even like notice a difference nowadays. Like a 2 times jump is like so small.
Yeah, but what we're seeing here, like obviously Switch is like closer to PS3. It's more powerful, but we're seeing like that kind of jump. Whereas like PS4 to PS5, of course, was very minimal. But I think the jump that we're seeing here with Switch 2 is going to be pretty noticeable.
Yeah. I agree. It's gonna be pretty noticeable. I think the funny thing is like people look at Mario Kart and they think it could run on Switch 1, but I don't agree.
I mean, it's also like it's super compressed. We're not seeing 4K.
I'm pretty
seeing
sure the Donkey
DLSS.
Kong model, even though we don't get a good look at it, has like that full like voluminous like fur, right? Like where each hair is like there. In Mario Kart 8, Donkey Kong's just like his fur is like basically a flat texture. Like each character is gonna be a lot more detailed and it's just gonna be crazy. There's gonna be so much
We're
more
going to
done.
be very impressed with it when we get it in our hands. I kind of equate it to, in my mind, I'm kind of equating it to Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild. So Tears of the Kingdom looks pretty similar to Breath of the Wild in terms of graphics, but
Pretty similar, yeah.
it's way more impressive because you jump down from the sky islands and you could dive all the way into the depths, and they do this without loading times at all. And they have Ultra Hand and all this stuff, so they put the power into other facets of game design, just like what Mario Kart is trying to do with the 24 players and the big environments. And maybe these courses are changing, right? As you go through them, we'll see. But I think they're going to do many things in that way to make it stand out rather than just giving it ultra realistic visuals or something, which is never what they go for anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Mario Kart 8, not Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart for Switch 2, right? Like, you might want to be like, oh, where's the differences? Like, the environments are larger. There are a lot of like really like subtle effects that make it all a lot prettier. But you just look at each individual character, the expressiveness that we're seeing on each individual character in Mario Kart for Switch 2 is substantially more sophisticated and elaborate than anything we saw for Mario Kart 8. Like you look at Mario Kart 8, like now when I go back to Mario Kart 8 and I look at the characters, they look stiff and lifeless by comparison. And that's huge. And that makes for a big difference. And I'll also remind you all, there are 24 characters on track now. So each character has a lot more expressiveness to their animation work. The map sizes is significantly larger. There are even cooler like lighting and shadowing effects going on. It's probably the game's going to be running at a much higher resolution, and there's a lot more happening on stage. Like that amounts to like way more than like you can't do that with 2 times power. Like you're going to need several layers of extra power to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to be like, like what we're theorizing this Ocarina of Time remakes going to be like it's just going to be this massive graphical jump that we could clearly see every little detail. It's going to be a lot better looking, but it's also going to be better in other ways. It's going to be a technical showcase for the online and the draw distance and all this other stuff. So I think people are jumping the gun, and I still do think it's going to look a lot better than Mario Kart 8, like you mentioned with like the animations and stuff. By the way, I would like to add, I'm glad that they're finally trying different art styles with Mario now. Like for example, like Wonder had a completely different Mario that was more expressive and stylized, and we're seeing that carried over to Mario Kart for Switch too.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's a good point. Like a lot that extra level of expressiveness we see in Mario Wonder, it feels like it's carrying over, and that just might be like the new standard for Mario games now. And there's like a nostalgic feel to it at the same time, right? Like it's modern, but it reminds you of like a lot of the older designs at the same time, which is crazy. Like in a good way. Like it's cool. Like dude, like what if the next Mario game, it's almost kind of like you remember the Mario 64 like pieces like concept art? Like what if it's like
Yes.
that, but in a game? Like
Well, to your point, you went over this in your video after the Switch 2 reveal, but Mario Kart for Switch 2, the character designs in there are kind of like the Mario Kart 64 designs a little bit on the box art. So I think you talked about this, right?
yeah, there was someone who pointed out on Twitter, and I shared that how they kind of compared. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they're starting to take. Oh, and imagine Ocarina of Time remake taking more inspiration from the cover art for
Oh
the
man.
original Ocarina of Time. Oh, brother.
This is actually, I think you raise a really good point. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys a few things. All right, where's all right, so looking at this art, right, like this Mario, this Peach, this Bowser, like because we got a good look at these 3 characters, right? This is art for the original Mario Kart on Super Nintendo. Like, so just look at like these like styles of characters, right? Now let me pull up the Switch 2 reveal trailer. If I actually, do I even have to do that? Mario Kart. I hold on. What image did I use earlier today? I think actually. Oh, there it is. Okay, that's why I couldn't find it, because I didn't title it correctly. All right. Okay. I think this might not be the best image to showcase what I'm talking about, but I'm still gonna share it with you anyway. Present. Hold on. Okay. So and maybe a little bit hard to make out. Like maybe this is not the best Mario animation because his face has changed, but like look at Bowser and Peach. Like the Bowser look and the Peach look to me not too different from what I was just showing you. But let me take another snapshot here.
I mean, just looking at this here, I mean, this looks so much better than Mario Kart 8, in my opinion.
This is zoomed in on off-screen ultra compressed footage, so it still looks pretty awesome. Yeah. I want to try and show another look. Maybe that's a good image to share. Okay. Okay, let me see. Let me share this one. Oh, yeah, this one might do a little bit of a better job. A little bit. It's another look. My screen share thing confuses me. Okay. Share screen, window. Okay. So you see this new one now, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm zooming in. Like, look at Bowser. Like, look at that wide-faced Bowser. Look at Peach with her hair down. Look at Luigi. Look at Donkey Kong. Look at Yoshi. Like, oh, man. Like, we're zoomed in a lot. This is... Oh, okay. I did not mean to do that.
Right. We're really zoomed in.
This is at 100%, right?
Yeah.
I'm at 200% right now.
Yeah, look at the draw distance as well. It's way better.
Like you can see a lot of stuff going on back here. But I'm more so just looking at like the art style right now, right? Like you look at these characters. It's crazy. Actually, like now that I'm like zoomed in on Mario, like you can see like the texture on his pants, you know?
Yes.
You can see serious depth of the gloves here. Like it may seem subtle, but like there's really like a lot in characters. Like I mean, look at the polygon. But there's something else I want to show you.
Let's do it.
Okay. I keep switching to different things. That's why I'm like jumping around. So this is the Mario 64 art. Like imagine, you know, they're like, hey, let's like what if the next Mario looks kind of like this, but better. Like with texture, like but like that art style in a modern era. Like what's crazy is that we've advanced so much that this looks like garbage. Right? Like it doesn't look like garbage, but you know what I mean? Like this looks wrong. You know, like if there was a game that looked like this, we would say it looks incomplete. That's how much we've advanced. But this was the initial like art for Mario 64.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. If it just had that sort of stylistic, you know, something sort of like this, it would be incredible. And I think they're going to use this era to try to differentiate themselves that way with the games.
Yeah. But I'm just excited because, like, man, if we can see a Mario game where it's like this kind of Mario, just, you know, with more modern textures and stuff, like, it will just look so cool. I mean, it's almost kind of like what if we got like a Mario 64 remake kind of like vibe, you know? Now, hey, first off, if we got a Mario 64 remake, I'd be hyped. I do not expect one. There's no theories on it, nothing like that. But just like seeing what they're doing in Mario Kart and Mario Wonder, how there's almost like a nostalgic feel to them. I really like that. So I'm very curious on what they're going to do with 3D Mario. Like when we see the next 3D Mario, like it might blow our minds in ways we're not ready for. That's exciting to me.
We're heading down the same path. Yeah, I think for I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the new Super Mario Bros. Games. It was like this squeaky clean corporate Mario, and they were good. And then Mario Odyssey was more it was more stylistic, but of course it wasn't as stylistic as this. The game was amazing. It's the greatest Mario game ever. But my point is, they're finally making Mario himself and the characters around them more um, expressive and more varied, I think, and that's exciting. Although Odyssey was extremely varied, but yeah,
Yeah, there was a lot of variety there. I'm gonna start wrapping things up. I'm gonna do a little bit of we'll close out. So any final questions or points you guys want to point out, please throw them in the chat. I do see Jumpmon added me earlier. I do want to know your full thoughts on DK's design. Been seeing some people overreact, like how Nintendo is essentially relegating DK to just Mario or is erasing Rare's legacy. Yeah, let's talk about that. So I'm gonna pull up these screens again. So I guess this is the one I was looking at here. All right, so this image here, we don't have the best look at Donkey Kong. I have another one that's kind of a better look, but like what you can see is that there's like some serious depth to his character model. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like you can see like his brow, his eyes are like sunken in. And I can see how some people might look at it, oh, it looks like a weird skull like thing, But let me show you this other image now. I don't think you can see the other one yet.
I cannot.
I'm putting it up.
What do you think of the new Donkey Kong model, like compared to the Rare model?
So this is like a front look at him, right? So we're not that close up. Obviously, this is really I'm at 671%, right? Like it's not the best look in the world, but he looks like a happy kind of like character, My
Yeah,
take, I actually like the design. I think people are afraid to change, and sometimes we react pretty negatively at first. It is not the same design, and like the whole like notion that like this is insulting to Rare's legacy. Like, I don't really look at it like that. Like, they've stuck with that old Donkey Kong design for decades. Like, I think it's okay to move on to something else. Like, I don't think that's the end of the world. Like, all the other characters have had design changes. Why can't Donkey Kong also change? Now Donkey Kong's is a very obvious change. But it kind of goes back to when Miyamoto had that moment with the movie Direct where he highlighted the new art style for Donkey Kong. Like there was purpose behind that. It was not just about the movie. It's like a new look for Donkey Kong moving forward. And we're seeing this in Mario Kart, which is clearly taking like a very like, it's inspired from like the original Mario Kart design, as we were pointing out earlier. I'm excited about this. What I want to do. I don't know how it's gonna work with like putting the. There's just a lot more I want to like kind of like peek at here. So let me see. I just wonder how many issues it'll give me if I like just share the trailer and try and like look at that,
Yeah.
Okay. So you see it now?
Yes, I do.
All right.
This is the uncompressed trailer?
I mean, it's compressed. I don't have a better version of it.
Okay.
I just want to like look at a few other things for the Mario Kart footage. That noisy. Okay. So the Mario Kart footage is coming up here. And like you see Donkey Kong here from behind, right? It's compressed, yes. But I want to say like that his fur is like all there. Like this is not like a flat brown thing. Like there's fur there. Oh, darn it. It's the tricky part of using this. Like, yeah, not the best. Like
yeah,
this video player
really
doesn't give me.
It's really hard to see, but yeah, let's see here.
Damn it! Like this video player doesn't let me like stop immediately. I have to like anticipate. That is so annoying. All right. All right. Now I'm like way too far behind now.
It's like the Postman game in Majora's Mask where you gotta time it correctly.
The thing is, if the play button goes down, it takes me longer to pause it. I have to like. All right, it's got to be coming. It's coming up now, right? Okay, now it's there. Right, okay. Oh my god.
It's tough.
What? How? Why did it go so far back? This player sucks. Might even be either just like do it on the YouTube, or I could do it. I guess I could screen share my video editor. Would that be better?
Yeah, and you can go to the exact part.
That's what I'm gonna do. It'll be easier to do that.
Ooh, someone mentioned change the play speed. Oh, you could do it in your editor.
I'm just gonna do it in my editor. It won't be like full screen, but it'll be better than that, and I can zoom in and stuff. Okay. All right, you see it? Okay. So, and I can at least do like this, you know? So it's more zoomed in.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of compression, but I feel like we can see.
He's a hairy guy.
He's a hairy guy, right? Like I think like if you look like here, you can kind of get a good understanding of the fur that's on him right out here on the sides. Can you see my mouse, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So there's that. But then and we get an interesting look at other stuff there too, but like they all have a lot of depth. Like look at Toad. Like you can see like the depth of like his like circular little things for his mushroom head.
Yeah.
You can see Rosalina's shoes. Yeah, we can see Rosalina's shoes. You got an interesting look at Yoshi, which I haven't really like. I even think Yoshi has a design change here. It's kind of hard to make right now, but like I want to say it's more of that nostalgic feel, right? Yoshi's it's hard to say for sure, but I think it's there. Oh, and there's maybe a better look at Donkey Kong right there. Like there's definitely like that fur, and he has like almost like a dumb, like kind of like funny look.
Yeah.
But there's something I want to show. Look, pay attention to Donkey Kong, right? as you come on the turn, like all these characters have like unique facial expressions, especially when they drift. So you see that with Mario, but like very prominently. But Luigi has a similar one as well. Peach has got something going on there too. Right now it does that whole thing, so we can't see everything. But look at Donkey Kong there when he opens his mouth. Like you see him
Oh, I see.
smiling, right? Like his eyes are closed there, his hands extended out. Now he's smiling. He might even pucker his lips. Yeah, he might pucker his. Oh, look, see there he puckers his lips. Like there's a lot. There's so much that's going on with Donkey Kong's face. Like he does so many different changes, like that. Like he's like kissing the air there. It's so cool. Now he's like smiling as he like angling forward. Like there's just a lot of expression to these characters here, and that might be one of our best looks at Donkey Kong actually, right there. And I mean, he's so big, right? Like that's the thing I kind of love. Like he's so big, like he shouldn't fit in the cart, but there he is. Yeah. So, anyways,
yeah, this looks incredible.
I think Donkey Kong's design is fine. It's more of a a comedic look. But this is Mario Kart. They all have kind of a comedic look, right? Now, I guess the bigger question is how would Donkey Kong look in his own game? And I don't think it's going to look exactly like this, but I think it is going to have similarities.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure they're just going to go fully back to the rare Donkey Kong, but yeah, I don't think. I mean, pretty much the same as you said. They'll incorporate design elements from this.
Man, it's just interesting, like going frame by frame like this. Like I feel like I'm seeing the game in ways I haven't seen it before.
Yeah, same here. Like I never saw that really in depth, like his facial expressions while drifting.
Yeah, there's just a lot of work done here. There's a lot, and you see how like look at this, like how he lands. Like it's not like a plop. Like there is like a give, right? Like look at that, look at that. Look at how when he lands, you see like the tires like squish down and stuff. Like there is a lot of attention to detail here. This is not like some basic stuff. Like there's a lot going on, and it's crazy.
I mean, you can never convince me this is a cross-gen game.
No, we're zoomed in like crazy right now. I mean, I've talked about this point before, but like the lighting here, like that's not in the other Mario Kart. There's so much. Anyway, yeah, I could do this all night, but I need to eat, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's cool stuff. Coming back to the chat here. Who said it here? The road textures look more detailed also, says Tater Salad. Yeah, they do.
Oh, Andres,
what's up?
I didn't watch your video yet today, but
it's okay.
I know what it was about, and I've been kind of thinking about it, like Mario Kart 9 and Metroid Prime 4 being there, because I do think Mario Kart 9 is like absolutely going to be a launch title, right? It's kind of like their GTA 6 in my eyes. It has to be there almost. It doesn't have to, but I think it will be. But I do feel like they also need to have a single player adventure. So, I haven't watched your video yet, but I will tonight. And I do agree that there's some sort of chance that we see both day one. And I don't think they'll eat into each other that much.
There are two games that I would be so happy to have. Like having so I think like when you buy a console, like you kind of want to have a little bit of a lineup. And having Metroid Prime 4 and Mario Kart, that's like such a good combo. I know when I got my Nintendo GameCube, the two games I got were Super Mario Sunshine and Metroid Prime, which don't necessarily fit as well, but I was just happy to have both of those games that I could kind of go back and forth between them. And as a kid, like it's very different. You don't beat games. You just play them and maybe someday you beat them, but you play them just to like get lost in the world, right? And so that's what happened with both Sunshine and Metroid Prime. But like I just think about like different times I've gotten new consoles. Like with the Nintendo Wii, I got Twilight Princess and Excite Truck, and it came with Wii Sports. So like that was like the starting lineup, right? Like those starting lineups, like there's something to that. Switch didn't have as stellar of a starting lineup. They had great games that came out soon later, right? Soon after. So like I didn't want to Switch. That was due to Snipper Clips was a neat thing. And I think I remember like I bought some of the smaller stuff. Like I think there was I'm trying to remember. I had picked up something. Maybe it was I don't even remember.
I bought Fast RMX along with
That
Breath of the Wild.
Fast RMX. That's what it was. That was the game
That
I was
game was
thinking
cool.
of. Yeah, yeah, Fast RMX. Yeah, that one was cool. It tried to pretend it was F-Zero. Didn't work, but it was still cool.
Yeah, it was a good co-op game for a couple weeks until I forgot about it.
Yeah, but maybe I should go back to it. It was a good one. Yeah. So like I don't know. Sometimes like having like an interest, like a few games at day one is always really nice. And Metroid Prime 4 and Mario Kart, like I think I'm not sure there's a better combo. You know, like are there other games that people might prefer? Maybe, but just in terms of how they complement each other, right? Like they're both very different. Like they, you know what I mean? Like one is family oriented, one is more mature oriented, one's a multiplayer racing game, the other is an adventure shooting game. Like they are so different from each other, but they're both like games that Nintendo fans are going to be so eager for.
I could just imagine it like I'll bring my Switch 2 over to like my buddy's house and we'll all play some Mario Kart or something, and then I go home and I want to play something late at night, so I boot up Prime 4 and I use my right Joy-Con to aim with the mouse controls. I could just see it, I can envision it, and I think there's a decent chance of that happening.
Yeah. For sure. And then there's something else I thought about, the playtest game, like that might work really well with those Joy-Cons and the communication features we theorized Switch 2 is going to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say that playtest is gonna look different because I wonder if it's going to be turned into something that is like on a hardware level, like a Street Pass or something, where it's like a massive like social network thing. And I do think it's going to be free to play for sure. I just don't like, is it going to be pre-installed on Switch 2 or something like that?
I think it'll be for NSO members.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I think. I think it's going to be for NSO members. Which
Do you
you pay
think
for
that's
that.
the so going back to the Midori codename leaks, we had a codename leak for Switch Sports, right? Like another one. It was Elsa or something, or Anna.
Yeah.
So that conflicts. I don't know how much it conflicts considering EPD4. I think it's EPD4. They produce a lot of games, right? They produce games almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
And they always have something at launch. But I believe this playtest game is EPD4 as well. But so would some sort of Switch Sports game. So I wonder how that would work out.
I mean, the thing is, devs can work on more than one project at a time. So, I wouldn't be. I don't know. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I also don't think the playtest program's like this thing that took them years to build.
No.
So,
No, I think it was fairly budget effort, but it's going to be something interesting when it actually comes to fruition.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Production Group 4 right now. They made 1-2 Switch, Nintendo Labo, Ring Fit Adventure, Big Brain Academy, Jump Road Challenge, Game Builder Garage, Switch Sports. Everybody went to Switch. They also co-developed Alarmo. Like they're pumping out stuff on a basic, like almost a near annual basis. Like I'm not too concerned about that. But maybe they don't have a Switch Sports Resort available at the beginning. Is that your main point?
Yeah, perhaps it's just like this playtest game or something like that. Because I think they're going to have something day one, whether it's the playtest or Switch Sports Resort.
Yeah, I mean they could be saving the Sports Resort for the year after. You know, if it's not a launch title, you know, maybe they save that for year 2.
Yeah, especially if it's not like some sort of pack-in game. You know, they don't have to have it at launch, and it's not going to be a
No,
pack-in game. Let's face it.
no, I don't think it'll be a pack in. No, yeah,
They don't
they
do that
didn't need it for
anymore.
Switch 1. I don't think they need it for Switch 2. They do bundles.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it's technically a discount because you're getting the game free with it.
yeah. Anyway, let me end this poll here. I had asked chances for a big Zelda remake showing off during the Switch 2 Direct, and 50% of you said 42% of you said there's a 50% chance or lower. 39 said 25 or lower. 14 said 75. 4 said 100. So it seems like most of us aren't like totally all in on this. 4% of us are like, yeah, it's happening. So that'd be crazy. I mean, you know, Zelda has been used to show off consoles before, so we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to. Well, I'll answer this one last question here. The question, Mark Man. Hey, Andre, do you have any Switch 1 games that you need to finish before Switch 2? I want to play Emio, the Smiling Man. I haven't gotten around to that. I haven't finished the Bayonetta series. I don't know if I'm gonna get around to that. I should. I recently started Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart on my
Oh, nice.
PlayStation. Yeah, and that was actually pretty fun. So maybe after I finish that, although I might also want to play just as other game I have downloaded on my PlayStation. It's a samurai game.
Is
Whatchamacallit?
it Ghost of Tsushima?
That one. Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
it's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give that one a whirl soon. But yeah, Emio is on my to-do list. I don't know. I have thought about like what if I did like a live stream series where I clear out my Switch backlog. But I also don't like live streaming games for very long, so I don't know if I'll do that. But yeah, I mean, outside of playing Emio and the Bayonetta games, I'm not sure what else I need to go back and do. Like I think that's it. That I mean, there's probably something else that I've forgotten about. Oh, I never finished Thousand Year Door. I need to finish Thousand Year Door. So that's important. And
I have Oh, sorry.
no, continue. You might remind me of something else.
I think I will because I don't think you finished this game either. I haven't even bought it yet, but I do want to play it. Brothership.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish Brothership. I kind of just stopped playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed things about it, but I still want to give it a shot.
Yeah. I don't know. Like Brothership didn't. Like it was fun at first, but I don't know. I wasn't like super captivated at the same time.
Right. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be doing a lot of playing from my Switch backlog when Xenoblade X comes out.
Oh,
Considering,
that game I'm gonna finish immediately. Oh, I just realized something kind of crazy about the Switch 2 reveal trailer. So you know how we were talking about how like it reminds us of the art from Super Mario Kart on Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
I just realized that the first 8 characters, well, maybe this isn't actually, it's not actually true. It's almost true, but it's not actually true. The first 8 characters in the Mario Kart art are Mario, Peach, Luigi, Bowser, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Toad, and a Koopa Troopa. We do see those 8 characters in the beginning of the trailer, but there are a couple other characters mixed in. Like in the like I thought they were the first 8 is what I was trying to say. 6 of them are, but Donkey Kong and Koopa Troopa are not in the very beginning. Like we see them eventually, right? But they're not in the total front is what I'm trying to say. Donkey Kong's close. Koopa Troopa.
So do you think they're trying to do a callback there with the way the characters are oriented?
Well,
Somewhat.
it's almost like so at the very end you see Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Toad, Yoshi, Donkey Kong. So 7 of the 8 are in the front, but then it's Daisy, Wario, Rosalina, and then Koopa Troopa. So Koopa Troopa is in the first 8, but he's not in the first 8 in the trailer. He's like a little bit further down. So I don't know if it's like actually intended. It's just kind of like the other 7 were like important players in all of the Mario Karts. Koopa Troopa was kind of forgotten for a while. So it's probably just a coincidence.
Yeah.
And the others are just important Mario Kart characters, which is why they're in the front. Yeah. So I don't think it's an intentional tease. But the arts, the art is reminiscent though. So, anyways,
Yeah. There's some sort of inspiration.
yeah. Flippin' Mac here says a chance we might get a achievements on Switch 2. I honestly don't know.
I would
don't.
say I would enjoy it if they were there, but I would say no because I don't know though. Like I think there's a chance they could do it, but if I'm a betting man, I'll say no. I'm just
Yeah,
not sure how they feel about achievements as like a design philosophy.
yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like betting on it. Like there's nothing that has me thinking that's gonna happen. However, I do feel like Nintendo's going to improve their communication features. I think there's gonna be a lot more third-party games. So I think there is at least a little bit of a motive for why they should, right? Like if they are trying to kind of achieve parity with Sony and Microsoft, so they can kind of have a little bit more of that third-party audience, then they probably should get achievements on there. But will they? It's Nintendo we're talking about here, so that's where I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, I hope so. I enjoy like looking at my trophies on PlayStation and seeing like what dates I got which trophies and stuff, and like when I got the platinum if I did get it. I would enjoy it a lot, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it happening.
Yeah. I'm not holding my breath. I'll probably pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I see Connor asking me, you've asked this before, right? But you say, look, I don't believe the Nate the Hate rumors for an HD remake of Robobot. I hope they can do a double deluxe pack or triple deluxe and Robobot, not just leave one game behind on 3DS. They may revisit triple deluxe later down the road, but I'm only personally expecting Robobot.
Same here. If triple deluxe was happening this year, I feel like we would know about that too. But yeah, it could happen later on.
Yeah. And Netwood here is saying, cannot tell if the theme is Metroid or Xenoblade. It's Xenoblade. There's no Metroid theme in the background music this time.
Satoral Marsh.
Yeah. Netweed09 here. One room mill from Gamescom had it that there's an incoming Halo for us. Yeah, I mean it's been reported from a few different places that a Halo collection is supposed to come to Switch 2, including Nate the Hate. So, I think that's probably happening. Yep.
So
anyway,
I want to ask you something.
All right, this is the last thing, and then we're
I know
calling it
you're
a night.
trying to end the stream.
Yeah.
But Expedition 33 and Doom
Yeah.
the Dark Ages got release dates today. And I believe Expedition 33 is April 24th and Doom the Dark Ages is like May 13th or something. So these are both before Switch 2.
Yeah.
Do you think these games, considering Microsoft's strategy, have chances to be day one games on Switch 2?
Yeah. I don't want to say like with 100% confidence they will be, but I don't see why both won't eventually come to Switch 2. I'm kind of curious to see like how quickly Microsoft is going to bring them over though, right? Like to your point, you're asking like, will they be day one? I don't know. That part's tough, especially because they would like. But we're assuming Switch 2 comes out in June, right? That's a very quick turnaround for both games to just have a second version come out not too long after. Like this would have to have been planned a while back already, which may be the case. I don't know how confident I am in saying that they're going to be there day one. I do think that Microsoft probably will have some game day one, and maybe that's Doom, or maybe that is Expedition 33. What was the other game was Ninja Gaiden 4, right?
Yeah, that was
a surprise one. What's there was one more title?
South of Midnight.
Did we get a release date for that one?
Ninja Gaiden, they actually, I don't know if you heard about this one, but they shadow dropped a remake of Ninja Gaiden 2, like today, as well.
Oh, and I think I saw some people talking about it's on PS5 as well.
Yes. Yeah, and it's out now, and
I might give that a whirl.
It looks like 4. Yeah.
I might play that. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And it's I don't know if the remake's done by Platinum Games, but it does look like the upcoming one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to check that out. But yeah, I wish I could tell you like, yeah, they're going to be like a day and date, Doom and Expedition 33, not day and date, but day one for Switch 2. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be some room there. I think Microsoft doesn't necessarily want their titles to be available immediately. At least that's the way how it worked on Switch 1. So I'm curious to see how it works. But I mean, if like Ninja Gaiden's like available on PS5, like,
well, I will say
a shadow drop, that kind of suggests that they just want their games available everywhere quickly, right?
For Doom and Expedition 33, it's day and date with PS5 and Xbox.
If that's the case, then maybe there's more reason that they would be more willing to have their titles on launch day for Switch 2. Maybe both. Like there's a solid chance there.
They're clearly going the Sega route, and I think it'll work out for them. But
yeah, maybe. It would be neat to see Microsoft supporting Nintendo so so adamantly, like right from the beginning. I'd love that.
Yeah, I think both of those games look incredible. So like, if those are announced for Switch 2, perhaps the Switch 2 Direct, that's where I'm getting them.
I mean, what if they literally announced the Halo collection during the Switch 2 Direct? Like that's gonna be a crazy announcement to have there.
Yeah, I mean that's their Mario, man. So
I mean, just think
That's a big
about
deal.
this. Like, what if, like, during the Switch 2 Direct, like, hey, like, Bandai Namco was like, oh, here's Elden Ring, right? Microsoft's like, oh, here's Halo Collection, right? And Doom. And then Square Enix is like, oh, here's Final Fantasy 7, and also there's like a Final Fantasy 9 remake supposedly coming. That's like there. Capcom's like, yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out later this year for Switch 2, alongside the DLC or whatever. Like, that would be crazy to see all these devs like confirming, like, hey, here are all of our big games that are coming out this year. Like, they're all coming out to Switch 2 this year. That'll send a strong message.
Yeah, I think this is truly going to be the generation where, obviously I've always played a bunch of Nintendo games, but now we're going to get third-party support. So I think Switch 2 is truly going to take a majority of my playtime, even though Switch took like a large portion of it. Now I'm going to be playing my third-party games on Switch 2, I think. So it's very exciting.
If they run well, then yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. That's another thing about that Switch 2 Direct, that it may show us how great it could be. But all right, I am going to call it a night, everyone. Thank you for everyone for coming by. And make sure to check out Sam. His channel is linked in the description below. But we'll see you soon. Take care.
Take care, everyone.